The next speaker leads the tech-enabled innovation team at John Lewis department stores and supermarkets. He's also responsible for the design and development of John Lewis Technology Accelerator. Please welcome on that very stage, Mr. John Barry.
Wow. Thank you for having me here in Sofia. I feel very privileged, and I'm going to take you through now what is my very short story over the last 2 years in the innovation team. So I joined in January 2014 after spending 5 years at Burberry. So one of the first things I learned at John Lewis was how much innovation has played a pivotal role throughout the 150 years of its existence. So that was something, after joining the company and being a real big ambassador for innovation and change, that I could really tie into and really try to emulate that kind of behavior. So the first thing I wanted to do was to not talk about innovation, to not go to everyone who I met for the first time and say, we need to look at the culture, we need to look at how we behave, we need to look at disruption, all of the key words you hear in innovation. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to focus on doing stuff. I wanted to focus on making stuff. I wanted to build a team that was capable of bringing ideas to life in very short spaces of time. But to do that, I needed to build a lab, a skunk works. So I went to the business and asked for a space called, in the basement, we called it Room Y. There's a long story around that, and I don't have enough time to talk to you about that, but maybe after. But it was really non-extravagant. It used to be a washroom, and in fact, this is what it used to look like when we took it over. And there was only 3 of us in the beginning, so we very quickly turned that kind of space into a working space that wasn't a health hazard to all 3 of us. And then, so the team that we pulled together was an engineer, a software developer, and a designer. And for me, that is really important. The technology is irrelevant. We can do whatever we want with technology. The most important part is the people that's in that room and how they think, how they collaborate with the rest of the business. And just to give you a scale of John Lewis, in our division we have just over 45,000 employees. We're all called partners in John Lewis because we're all co-owners in the business. So after joining in January, again, I didn't want to just talk about doing stuff. I actually wanted to do stuff. So it started with something we did called the Interactive Sofa Studio. John Lewis has a proposition called ASAF, Any Shape, Any Fabric. And we went to a shop in Kent called Blue Water, and we saw this beautiful proposition. You could go up to this display, you could choose from over 80 different cards to see the sofa shape. And then you could go to this unit where there was over 200 fabrics. Then what you could do is go to a terminal with a keyboard and mouse and actually do the same, so you could build the sofa. It was a really interesting proposition, but there was something missing. You could touch the fabrics, but you couldn't see the shapes. So what we did is we very, very quickly, we started to prototype. And what we did is we 3D printed the top 15 shapes. And we embedded RFID technology into the shapes and the fabrics that we had made custom, built some software in-house, and we put it into store. We wanted to see how customers could engage with it. For all we knew, it was going to fail straight away. Our only KPI was, will customers engage with it? By chance, we had 65,000 interactions in the first 12 weeks. And the sales were up, but I can't let you know how the sales, because it's still a prototype. So we're now working on a phase 2 of that prototype, which in the beginning we had to do in Sebastian's kitchen. Because although we had this space, we couldn't solder in there because it would set off the fire alarm, which we really didn't want to do. So we did it in Sebastian's kitchen. But there's got kind of a feel of kind of the process we went to. Really kind of rapid prototyping, building stuff in 12 weeks, but mitigating the risk. We built this for £1,100 and put it into store. So that learning we gathered internally was so important. So from there, the team's ambition grew. Our kind of identity within the business grew, and more work was coming into us. So we really wanted to kind of focus on these multidiscipline kind of experiences. How can we revolutionize how customers engage with the brand within each channel? So we started to build a portfolio of special projects. So I'm just going to run you through now a handful of these projects. just so you can get a feel for the type of work we're doing. And I have to call out, Room Y is a lab, but it's very physical. We have laser cutter 3D printers, and we're really looking on the physical world and how Omni-channel plays a role in that physical world. It's no good just putting a johnlewis.com browser in a store and calling that Omni-channel. It's how we can surface online in different ways in the real world. So the first one was the head of design, which was a new home department that we built as a business in Oxford Street in London. So really beautiful space, and the comms team wanted to create a real theatrical moment for when the press were coming to the event. So we come up with some ideas, and the final idea was to build something called the head of design. It's a 2.5 meter high structure, which we laser cut using polystyrene, and it was wrapped in MDF. So from there, that went into store, and there was a huge theatrical moment. But the real nice kind of contradiction of this physical space was inside is an iPad, and as a customer, you could go inside this iPad and take a 3-minute psychometric test. Now, during that test, you get asked a whole load of questions, even questions about stuff that we don't sell. For example, broken glass, textures, wood, concrete, products we do sell. Some would take long, some would be really quick responses, just to get an understanding. And at the end, it would actually tell you what interior design style you are. So we have around 11 or 12 interior design styles. And you can see here, I was Scandi, which is my apparent style. Augmented reality, again, really looking at how can we solve problems? How can we help? We have over 350,000 products in a store. So how can we really, look at helping customers visualize these products? So we worked with a company called Simagine to actually build this experience. So it wasn't, there's been loads of augmented reality where it's marker-based, where you put a book on the floor, you put a card on the floor, and use your phone to actually scan and then augment a piece of furniture, a product over your card. We wanted to go one step further and have something that was completely markerless. So this technology actually visually scans the room and then takes into account all of the measurements and then augments the shape. In this case, it was dining room chairs into the space. So premium beauty. So again, very much like the head of design, we're approached around, we have the opportunity here to actually create a bit of a moment in Oxford Street. So Charlotte Tilbury Premium Beauty brand. So what we did is we launched the product online, but they wanted to create a real kind of, again, I think these theatrical moments are really important in the physical store. Creating that compelling reason to come in. So we built this gift booth. So customers could come in, have a makeover in store, and then go into the gift booth to showcase the makeover with one of the 10 signature looks. At the same time, once that gift was captured, it was then being sent to the 2 screens in Oxford Street, so you could have your name in lights. So that was a really interesting and a really new thing for John Lewis. We had 10 meters worth of screens in John Lewis, and if ever you see John Lewis windows, sometimes they're a bit analog, and I think this is a real nice shift. So Monty the Penguin. For those of you that do know John Lewis, you'll be aware of this, but for those of you are not, Monty the Penguin was one of our Christmas ads. Christmas is something that we do each year, and it's something that we're quite famous for. So for this particular advert, we wanted to enable people to see things through children's eyes. So we built a rig in store and used photogrammetry and a camera rig, so children could bring in their toys, hoist their toy inside the rig, and then an operator would scan the photogrammetry device around the rig, so the kid could actually dance with their toy in front of the booth. It was amazing. We had in about 6 weeks around 2,500 scanned toys. So it was really, really interesting. Even adults were coming in with their scanned toys. This is the newest of our releases. So on the 7th of April, we launched in our Oxford Street store again a smart home concept. Now I'm really proud of this experience because there's so many different people in the business come together for this. But it was a great opportunity for us to really contextualize how the smart home is for people in their homes. Smart home is a really complex, sometimes unknown quantity, and this was a really, really exciting project. So we put windows into the bedroom, windows into the living room, and then built experiences that the weather on the screen would actually trigger the Nest to change. And for example, in the bedroom, the weather and the daylight and the nighttime would actually trigger the Philips Hue in the bedroom to actually change. So it's a real holistic experience. So it's not just internal, there's external as well. So JLab is something that we're in our 3rd year this year. So it's our Accelerator. So if there's anyone here that wants to apply, applications are open. And year 1, locales had won, and year 2, last year, people had won. And this year, we're waiting for the winner. So for example, first year was location-based locales, and last year was a smart peephole. So being able to monitor who's coming to your door or not using your smartphone. Really disruptive technologies. And here's the themes for this year. There's a slight mistake on the second one. It's well-being, it's effortless shopping. Effortless payments was last year, that's my fault. Technology for kids, really looking at how we can, encourage innovation in that space. Simplifying my life, something that we're all looking to achieve. And a surprises category. We also partnered with the government's innovation agency called Innovate UK, where we again wanted to encourage innovation in virtual reality. So we were the retail partner, challenge partner, where we worked with a number of companies to actually choose a winner, and the winner was Future Visual, you can see here. So we're now working to actually build a prototype, a test, to actually get into Oxford Street later in the year, where we can actually really explore, again, that visualization and how we can support the customer on their shopping journey. Because after all of this, the most important thing within all of this is the customer. The last minute. So this is kind of a page that I pulled together based on what it's taken to kind of create an innovation space. So about culture, reward, being multidisciplined, being fearless. There's a lot of fear, and fear really breeds, conservativeness and being safe. To be able to push the boundaries at this level, you need to be unrestrained. That restraint comes later down the process, but at the beginning it needs to be raw and natural. And encourage cross-functional work. Avoid that silo way of working. Really kind of share and collaborate, and you will truly see magic happen. Thank you.